internet, so I am off video. But Annie, go ahead, take it away. Or maybe it's yeah.
I have myself, Annie Cathy, Allison France, Brian West, David Strohmeyer, Eric Dixon, Jerry Marks, Kyla Lennertz, Melissa Fisher, Nathan Cohen, Josh Slotnick, Juanita Vero, Matt Lowe, MCAT, Susan Hay Patrick. And am I missing anybody out there? All right, Juan, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks so much. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda?
Yes.
Go for it.
Early bird registration is still open for the Greater Northwest Passenger Rail Summit in Billings on August 22nd and 23rd. So if you want to get those deep discounts, do so between now and July 22nd. It will be a great event.
Yay! Thank you, Dave. Okay, consent agenda. Looks like we just have one item.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. On to action items. Looks like we have, is this Eric Dixon? Am I on the right? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, yep, go ahead. Sorry, Eric.
All right, good morning. Our ongoing effort with the Buena Vista sewer project. This is mostly a cleanup, I think, on the DNRC end. We received a renewable resource grant from the DNRC last year and executed an agreement with them in January of this year. When they allocated their funding, though, they used ARPA funds for their internal funding source. And that doesn't work for our joint funding with the Corps of Engineers and their WRDA program. They require non-federal match, so ARPA did not qualify and left us about $43,000 short. So we brought that to their attention. The DNRC revised their internal funding to use their own state sources. So this is just a replacement grant for our original grant from January of this year to complete the funding package for non-federal match for the Buena Vista Sewer Project. So just a replacement of a state source for a federal source.
Sounds good. I would move we replace that state source with the federal source. Or the federal source with the state source, actually.
Yes.
Sorry, got it backwards.
Replace away. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Buena Vista forever. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, phase two with the Buena Vista. Cindy.
So, Commissioners, this is the item that was postponed.
Oh, right. Sorry. Thanks, Chris. Okay, move to 3. Allison. Update to our public information records.
Yeah, so this is our policy that guides how we respond to requests for public information and records, which, as you know, we are required to by statute. The main updates to the policy are that it now directs the public to submit any requests through the Next Request portal, which is our online portal we use to process these requests. And then it also directs staff to process requests through that portal. And then the other major update is that it clarifies when we are requiring payment for fulfilling requests, just so we're a little more consistent across the county with that. Other little small housekeeping language cleanup changes, but those are the two big ones. So happy to answer any questions.
Well, that sounds good.
Thanks. I'd move that we adopt the updated policy.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, with an agreement with Homeward.
Good morning, Commissioners. So as we continue our work towards the location of we're still calling it a temporary safe outdoor space, but eventually we'll just start calling it the safe outdoor camping space. One of the opportunities we had was to purchase one of the duplexes that Homeward was able to secure recently. This will serve as the staff space at the new facility, as well as the meeting room space for the new facility that is located out off of in the area of Mullen and Broadway. And so this is a purchase agreement to purchase that duplex, which will eventually be sited, hopefully, as we move into fall and the groundwork is completed.
So Chris, is this duplex part of Trinity?
This duplex is not part of Trinity. Homeward had the opportunity to purchase some units that were being refurbished out of both the oil sands area and other locations, which they've temporarily moved and stored here in Missoula.
Okay, so it'll be moved on site.
Correct.
Yeah. And will we use both sides of it?
Yes, one side for staff and the other side will be the meeting space.
Perfect. Great. That's really wonderful use of available resources. All right, I would move we get this duplex.
Second.
Fantastic. And Dave, I didn't know if you were asking something else.
Oh, just for clarity, it's not a duplex in the same way that folks might be thinking of a duplex house somewhere. It's on a trailer, correct?
Correct.
These are things that were used out in the oil patch to temporarily house workers.
Yes. Yep.
But it has plumbing and electricity.
It does have hookups for those things. Yes.
Okay. Great. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Juan, before you go on, just for the edification of trying to see if we have any media on the line here, there had been some community confusion over whether we have selected a site for the new temporary safe outdoor space or safe outdoor space, and yes, indeed we have. It's by the Trinity project, and that's exactly what we're talking about here is moving this unit to that site. So there's no question as to where this is going to be located.
Thanks, Dave. Kyla with a Lolo mosquito board.
Hi, commissioners. So we've had a vacancy on this board since late last year. We had one applicant. So the request would be to appoint Rick Davenport to the vacant term, which is through December 31st, 2024. And we have Jerry Marks here, who was here for that appointment.
Fantastic, Jerry.
I sat in on the interview, and he expressed quite interest in working with the people in Lolo. We have been working, particularly this past year, to improve our educational efforts with the people. And the other thing that stood out for me is he does have an interest in science. And so we're trying to come up with other changes or other ways to address the mosquito population there in Lolo. And I can say this year was an outstanding year for a number of mosquitoes because we've gotten a lot of calls from all over.
Incredible. Yeah, the mosquito density was high, is high. Yes. But fading, I noticed last night when I was outside that it is one notch better than it was a couple days ago.
Yes.
The wind helps.
Yeah, it was at least last night. It wasn't even windy, but I didn't have to scrunch the hood on my hooded sweatshirt up while I messed with a pump. At 9 o'clock at night.
Well, is there a motion?
I would move we appoint Rick Davenport to this board.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, and thank you so much, Jerry.
Jerry,
thank you guys.
Jerry, I want to ask you a quick unrelated question just while you're here. Would you have time for like a 5-minute phone conversation at 3 o'clock today?
Yes, I think so.
Do you have my phone number?
I'm not sure I do.
You got a pen handy?
I got a pen handy.
406-239-6993.
6993. 239-6993.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. 3 o'clock.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Hey, is Bradley presenting for this?
I'll be presenting this one as well.
Sorry, Kyla. Okay.
Okay, I'll run through it. It looks like we do have Nathan on who will also, yep, okay. So this is for the Elections Advisory Committee. We have one regular seat vacancy through January 31st, 2024, and we have one alternate seat vacancy through January 31st, 2025. We had 4 applicants: John Newman, Jeff Koch, Camille Flood, and Susan Mace. So 1 seat to fill for the regular member and 1 for the alternate seat.
Nathan, do you want to talk a little bit about what the committee is looking for?
You're muted there.
Sorry, everybody. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me now? I hope so. Okay, we've spent a little time over the last month or so here interviewing the candidates for these opening vacancies on the board. And I believe the commissioners are ready to make an appointment. I'm hoping that they've come to a consensus by this morning, and hopefully we're able to fill these positions and the EAC can be reconstituted as a whole again.
Well, we have not come to a consensus until we vote here in a second, but
Right.
Are there, I guess for our information and the information of folks out there who are participating today, what are the kind of the specific areas of focus that you're looking for to round out the committee? Expertise, skills, diversity, whatnot?
And all of the candidates obviously express an interest in the elections process, and a lot of them had a lot of experience working in elections, and those are things that we're looking for. But one of our main criterion is to try to get candidates who have a background that represents either underrepresented populations on the board, like rural populations, rural parts of the county, because the board is predominantly made up of members from the city. We would like to get some rural representation back on there and just kind of get a good balance to the board. And I think that we had some candidates who met that criterion.
Okay. Thanks. Well, I'm ready to make a motion here. I know that Susan, I believe, is in the Clinton area, if I'm not mistaken. And Cameo has done work on various issues with the EAC. So let me take a stab at this, and if folks have something different, jump right in. I would move that we appoint Cameo as the regular member and Susan as the alternate.
And I'm happy to second that, Dave. I just want to throw out that in most all of our boards, representation matters and perspective matters. And with these 2 applicants, we have someone who is a rural person and has that rural perspective. And just to be super blunt, we have a person who's not only is highly skilled, tons of personal integrity, and has lots of knowledge about elections, but is also a Republican. And we need to have some balance in the EAC between these 2 major parties. So I think these 2 folks will make great EAC members. Also want to publicly acknowledge that the other folks, not only we appreciate their putting their names in and are worthy candidates as well. I want to call out John Newman, whose expertise in managing meetings and running boards is deep, a powerful asset for us to have to pass on in this case. And want to encourage, I would say, Nathan, a personal meeting between you and Bradley and John to describe this. And we want to keep him in the wings. The talent he could bring to this is high. And I understand that in this moment, the best thing for us to do is not take him up on his offer of joining this board, but make sure he understands why and keep him in the wings for the next possible opportunity.
Thank you, Josh. Well said. And he is definitely on our meeting. Personal meeting with him is definitely on our radar.
Yeah, I mean, he's in terms of representation and perspective, he lives in the city of Missoula, and he's a hyper educated Democrat, so that demographic is very well, if not overrepresented already on the EAC.
No, well said, all. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.
Kyla, we have one more for the planning board.
One more board appointment. This is for the Consolidated Planning Board. We've had one open alternate vacancy due to the reason that the seat needs to be filled by someone who's in outside of the city limits. So we did have one applicant, Brady Potts. So the motion would be to appoint Brady to fill the remainder of the vacant alternate seat, which is through December 31st, 2023 to the Missoula Consolidated Planning Board.
I would move we appoint Brady to the board, and I'd say I enjoyed our conversation with Brady and impressed with his knowledge of development and real estate and planning. And I think the skills that he brings to this will allow him to be a successful and contributing board member on the Consolidated Planning Board.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks so much.
So,
Correspondence. Clearwater Stewardship Act. Hey, Kaylee.
Good morning. I can speak to this if that would be helpful.
Fantastic.
Great. So this is a letter written and being sent to Senator Steve Daines expressing support for the Blackfoot Clearwater Stewardship Act. So this is a bill that was introduced to the Senate by John Tester, Senator from Montana, and is now going in front of the Senate Natural Resources and Energy Committee. And Senator Daines is a member of that committee. So this letter expresses the support of Missoula County to all that is encompassed in the Blackfoot Stewardship Clearwater Act, which is expansive in that it includes areas that would be set aside for recreation, for logging, for timber, for motorized use, non-motorized use, as well as wilderness areas. And this is a homegrown effort in Montana that has been a collaborative vision that has grown over the years and has gained support over the last decade or so that has been discussed and would provide immense benefits for economy, for natural resource conservation, and for recreationists throughout the area.
So good.
thanks.
Thank you. And everyone, please call the senator's office, 202-224-2651. My God, this is way past due.
And yes, the Senate hearing, just to be clear too, that is on Thursday. So if people are wanting to call or submit their own letters, just know that that upcoming Senate hearing is on this Thursday.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kaylee. And I've got to apologize. Between now and the next meeting, I'll have to adjust my camera angle. Sorry for the kind of Madonna and child halo here that I've got going on.
I don't see.
It looks great.
Okay.
There we go. That's good. Yeah. You look like you're on the ceiling, Dave. Painted by a skilled Italian from many centuries ago.
Discussion items.
So commissioners, you have some folks here who would like to talk to you about exploring opportunities to fund some of the ongoing efforts that we have around some of our crisis services that we've provided throughout the pandemic through ARPA and CARES Act funding. I'm not sure who would like to speak first, but then once they've had an opportunity to talk, we can talk about what next steps might look like for the county if this was something that had your support. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah. I can't see who is all.
I saw Shannon on for a minute.
There we go. I'm still here. So obviously I'm here to speak in support of a crisis services levy of some sort because of the American Rescue Plan funds are going to be exhausted and not renewable. And they were used to fund a number of initiatives revolving around homelessness, addiction, and mental health. Some of those programs, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, are the Emergency Winter Shelter, the Temporary Safe Outdoor Space, the Mobile Support Team, the Crime Victims Advocate Program, and so forth. And we have demonstrated in Missoula. I'm sorry, was there a question there? Nope.
No, keep going.
Yeah, so we've demonstrated through the utilization of these programs that we've had some success in dealing with these critical issues. And I would support an issue or a ballot initiative to, fund them with taxpayer dollars in Missoula. It's, in my opinion, a nonpartisan issue. We would all benefit by keeping these issues in check with, proven outcome programs with proven outcomes. I definitely feel like if we take an active approach towards this, we can have some success. I think that we've all heard anecdotal stories from outside of Missoula in places like Seattle, Portland, and those types of areas where they take a more passive approach, or what at least appears to be a more passive approach, and have terrible outcomes where the downtown areas are not as friendly to visit anymore, not as safe for both residents and the homeless. And I would support the county commissioners basically backing a levy on the ballot in November. That's what I have to say.
Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, you bet.
So are there folks from the media on this call right now?
Commissioners, Martin Kidston is on.
Martin, if you didn't catch it, that was Shannon Flanagan.
Oh, Martin does have his hand up.
Excellent.
Oh, thanks. I was just going to ask Mr. Shannon's last name. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And what's your affiliation, sir? What are you affiliated with? Any particular group? Are you an individual here today, or how would you be identified?
I'm just speaking as a community member. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, commissioners, as you know, county staff has been working on these projects. We've been fortunate to have great partners in both the City of Missoula, Partnership Health Center, and lots of organizations around there. I would add to what Mr. Shannon said that there is clearly a need for several of the services that we have, including mobile support and others, which have provided real community benefit and have demonstrated real opportunity for change in our community. But those are all kind of one-time funded items. And so what I would recommend to you is that we open a public comment period so that you can get input from the community as to whether this is something they would want you to place potentially on the November ballot. And if you were amenable to do that, we could open that public comment period this Thursday at your public meeting. I'd do a very short staff presentation just to open the public comment period. We'd have that open for a couple of weeks, and then in the beginning of August, we'd come to you with, assuming again there appeared to be community support for this, we could come to you with a draft resolution of what that might look like based on what the need would be to fund some of those programs as ongoing programs versus kind of their one-time status that they're being funded with now.
Thanks, Chris. Is there anybody else on the call right now who'd like to speak to this?
I don't see any hands. Okay.
I mean, I'll speak to it if you like, but
yeah,
I
that would be great.
But obviously, Susan Hay Patrick, CEO, United Way of Missoula County, we've made tremendous progress over the last couple of years, thanks to programs supported by our public sector. Kudos to our city and county for using investing ARPA funds on behalf of programs that have really changed and saved lives among our most vulnerable people. Supporting them without ARPA funds, now that those funds are running out, it's too big a lift to support these programs for the private sector, nonprofit sector, philanthropic sector, and public sector alone. We really do need public support to continue these programs. We all, as nonprofits and our philanthropic community has invested in these programs, we need continued support for our crisis services. We all benefit when we live in a community where people are housed, where people have access to critical mental health services, and where people feel safe and receive justice. And I encourage you to consider seriously placing this on the levy. And thank you, Shannon Flanagan. I think it's really important that we have business support for these programs, and appreciate Shannon speaking up.
Thanks, Susan.
Cindy?
Yep. Hi. I'm sorry. I just raced back from the courthouse to get over here. I'm Cindy Weiss. I'm the executive director of the Ydbca Missoula, and the Y's mission is to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. That's why I wanted to speak to you today. Today, the Ydbca offers shelter for domestic violence survivors. We also, 13 years ago, began operating and running an emergency housing program for families because family homelessness is so strongly linked to domestic violence that up to 70% of homeless families in our community are headed by a single mom who is a survivor of domestic violence. Today, the Y operates 4 residential programs, and last year in these programs, we provided emergency, transitional, or permanent housing to over 600 people, including 175 families and 300 unsheltered children. And most of the people we house are staying in our 2 shelters that are located in the Ydbca's new Meadowlark facility. And it is there that every day I witness their struggles that they encounter, the efforts that they make to find stable, safe housing. And as we all know, rental costs have skyrocketed beyond what families and domestic violence survivors can afford. The wait list for subsidized housing assistance that used to be a lifeline for low-income families and survivors is now 5 years long. Some of the adults that we are serving are struggling with mental health, disability, or addiction issues. And these issues could be more easily managed, but many are living in such deep poverty that it makes it difficult for them to get the early and intensive care that they need. And without the means to effectively address these health issues, many unhoused individuals and domestic violence survivors will always struggle to find and maintain safe permanent housing. And so that's some of the reasons that I wanted to talk today. I love this community because it's full of generous and good-willed people. We witnessed this when over 1,000 community members contributed to our capital campaign to build the Meadowlark. That's the Missoula I know, and it's the Missoula that I want for everyone. We are a community that cares for the less fortunate and struggling neighbors because it is the right thing to do. Being unsheltered is one of the most desperate and disruptive things that can happen to an individual. And fortunately, Missoula has made tremendous progress in the past 2 years to provide shelter so that everyone has a safe and warm place to sleep, and then the crisis services necessary for them to get back on their feet. This is the right thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do. The investment in shelter and crisis services not only helps our most vulnerable community members, but it also saves taxpayer money because housed and supported people rely much less on emergency services like law enforcement and hospital emergency rooms. The Ydbca has partnered with some of these newly implemented and expanded enhanced services to offer holistic support to the people we serve. And 2 of these partners are crucial and regular service providers to our residential clients. The Crime Victim Advocate Program works with many of the domestic violence survivors who reside at our shelter, and the CVAs help our shelter residents get orders of protection, and then they help support them throughout court proceedings, often making it possible for them to leave our shelter and return safely to their own homes. The mobile support team has been a godsend. when we have residential clients experiencing acute mental health crisis. Our staff depends on this team to respond quickly and adeptly. And not only is this a comfort to our staff, but it enables us to continue providing shelter to people whose crisis-related behaviors may have otherwise resulted in them returning to homelessness. And so over the past 2 years, these programs, as Susan just said, have been supported largely by ARPA funds that will soon run out. And I believe we cannot let this loss of funding put an end to or diminish these programs that are critical to the crisis response to homelessness in our community. And that's why I fully support and urge you to support the Missoula County Crisis Intervention Levy to fund these services and other crisis services. It's the right thing to do, and it's the smart thing to do for our community. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you so much, Cindy, for this.
Cindy.
Oh, Cindy and Susan, both of you.
I blurred these two luminaries. Sorry.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be confused with Cindy Weiss, trust me.
But to be confused with Susan.
Yeah. Do we have any other media questions for these fine folks?
Hey, if you don't mind, is there a projected dollar figure that you would need to or would like to raise or would like to secure through the levy?
I can speak to that loosely. In our research, our friends would suggest that we need roughly $5 million a year to run this program.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll make comment here was when people like Cindy and Susan and Shannon Flanagan come to us, I think we better keep this open so the rest of the public can comment too. So I hope we can kind of follow the instructions you laid out, Chris, and open a public comment period on Thursday for a few weeks and hear what other folks have to say.
Agreed.
Sorry, Chris, were you trying to say something?
No, commissioners, then I will be at your Thursday meeting to do a quick staff presentation and just open the public comment period for that. We'll have that run for at least 2 weeks. We'd be looking at approximately August 4th then for you guys to close the public comment period and then potentially make deliberations either at the August 4th if you felt you had enough information or at the subsequent public meeting the following week. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks everybody for taking the time to pass this on.
Yeah, thank you for hearing us out. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, any other upcoming events or invitations? Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and talk to you on Thursday.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.